So hello guys, we're back again on MDM Moscow, here joined by Yellowpete, AD carry player for Team EG. So please give a quick background information about yourself.
My name is Peter Wippen. I'm from Germany, and I've been playing with this team for like a year now, a little bit more. And yeah, we've just finished the second of our games here in the second week of the second split of Season 3 LCS in Europe. And yeah, so far it's been great fun.
So how you've been doing guys in Moscow, do you like it or not? Have you tried any Russian meals?
I've only tried what has been given to me basically here at the venue, which probably wasn't the most typical Russian food, I don't know. Sadly we don't really have much time. We're pretty restricted in terms of schedule. We arrived shortly before the games and we're gonna leave very shortly after the games are all done. So not too much time to take out Moscow, which I would have liked to, but yeah, in the end we still need to get into next week, prepare for next week. It's a never-ending cycle.
Okay, so as you know, there is another tournament coming out here. It is called like CIS tournament.
Yeah.
Have you seen any games of it?
I've seen a couple of games. They were played before ours, so we arrived a little bit earlier, and I've seen a couple of games, and yep, they were pretty entertaining to watch. So, like in terms of quality, they weren't lagging behind too much or something. You could tell it was amateur teams, but still really good matches. So it was great fun.
So, how do you feel about Russian pro scene in general? So, so far, Europe only known Gambit Gaming. And now you have seen some other Russian teams. How do you feel about them? Are they really like behind all the European scene?
On average, probably not. I wouldn't say so. It's interesting because I've seen some of these teams and some of the names that I already know from solo queue, but I never knew it was Russian players. I was like, oh, this guy's from Russia. Ah, I see.
Okay.
So yeah, that's some promising talent for sure.
Okay. So you've played already 2 games in Moscow. The first one was against MIM,
Yeah.
MYM, and the second one against Fnatic. So what do you think went wrong in those games?
So I'll start with Fnatic one since that's like better in my mind right now since we just played that. It was just like we were actually ahead at the start of the game, but we lost pretty much at the first dragon fight. I think we were just like too overzealous at getting kills. We misplaced our wards a little bit. We got a pretty good engagement, but we just followed through too much and got baited into like a very unfavorable fight. And from that point on, it was kind of a game to catch up for us because yeah, we were pretty far behind. We still managed to make some good plays, I think, but in the end, it was just too much advantage, much gold advantage to really compensate for. And then Meteor Makers, it was just mostly mechanical misplays. Actually, it's disappointing to lose because of that, because you know, like you did it, you tried to do everything right, but you just didn't succeed doing it. That's kind of a harsh way to lose, but well, yeah, we're gonna have to look at those mistakes and see what we can take from them.
So looking at 2 teams like Team Alternate and Meteor Makers, they're kind of a fresh blood on the scene. So did you guys expect them to shine that bright or not?
I expected all the teams in the current season to be somewhat even, actually way more so than it was in the last season. I expected to Alternate and Meteor Makers especially to be way more up to par to the rest of the teams than the old LCS teams were, AA and Giants. And for Lemon Dogs, I didn't really know, but they have a really strong showing as well. So yeah, I can definitely say we're in for an interesting season. Like anything can happen. It's still only the first game, so we're seeing a trend, but it's not like anything's final yet. And yeah, I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the fact that the games are less predictable.
So, speaking about Lemon Dogs, they are going to be your next opponent, as far as I know. And what do you guys think? Will you be able to stomp them like from the even early game, or will the game be hard for you?
Our last game was pretty dragged out against them. Like we were very far behind, but we managed to like crawl our way back into it, still being like 10,000 gold down or so, but getting a Nasher, winning a couple key team fights, and we actually could have still won this game, and it was very close. So I don't really expect it to be a stomp either way, no.
Okay, but do you think that like this experience of being on the pro scene, like, is the key factor that that matters for you guys to win over those amateur teams? Not amateur, but they're pro teams, right?
Yeah.
But they're just new.
Yeah, new teams. One key advantage, I would say, for experience is that you're usually more calm in like a competitive environment. Like you know how to keep your calm somehow in the game. You know how to keep it together if things are going like south. But as for the actual gameplay, I would say it's a huge advantage. It's just, in that sense, it's more about who's more motivated, who's been training more effectively, and yeah, ultimately who just gets themselves together the most and manages to focus completely on the game.
So if we look at the NA scene, there are a lot of roster changes all the way, like, and in Europe it's like not a very common thing to happen. And do you think it's like a good thing to like bring a fresh blood into a team, or do you think like it is better to leave a player on a team and just practice with him more and more for him to catch up with all the rest?
I think both can be good. It's really just a judgment call whether you want to like cut your losses and just dodge another player, or whether you want to keep on trying if something goes wrong with a particular player, for example. But overall, I think roster changes can sometimes be needed and useful. I can't think of an example in Europe where I would have been like, if I was in their shoes, I would have probably swapped out this player right now because it's going to be better for the team in the long run. So yeah, I just the stable rosters in Europe are more from the fact that the teams play more consistently as well overall, and then like not going into huge losing streaks and big fights amongst each other and stuff like that. So they're just able to be a little bit more consistent in that way.
So there is like another thing I want to ask you. There's a common Ezreal build for the pro scene, let's call it common, like blue Ezreal.
Yeah.
What do you think is the strongest side of this build, and why is it so popular?
It's become so popular because for me the core item of this build, the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, the jungle item, was buffed. Previously it was made cheaper to around 2,000 gold, and was just super cost efficient for Ezreal. He could make use of all the stats, and the passive effect just like it synergized of all the spells, so it was just the perfect pickup for him. And then going into more poke, more CDR, more mana, was just a very effective build path. Now, like we're still playing on 3.7 here, so it's still pretty good. In 3.8, I wouldn't say it is as good anymore.
Because this is getting nerfed.
Exactly, it's getting nerfed, so it's not really that cost efficient anymore to pick up as a first item. And you're probably going to see way more Ezreals going for Bloodthirsters first, maybe even more Trinity Forces, like less CDR, less blue builds, but more straight up damage.
Do you think that patch 3.8 will bring up some old AD carries on the scene back again? Like, we can't see Graves like very often, and we can't see enough. But she was kind of very popular in the start of the season, but now it's like...
Maybe a little bit less, but they're still getting played occasionally. I mean, there is like, I don't know, 14 AD carries or something. Not every AD carry can be played in every single game. I think MF and Graves are still getting played pretty much proportionally to how many champions there are. So in terms of patch 3.8, I can't really think of an AD carry that would get like a substantial buff out of that. A couple of more riskier choices that are hard to lane with if you're in an XP disadvantage might get picked up. because you can always guarantee that the lane you're facing basically doesn't have any XP up on you. That's very important for some champions that are weak on lane early. Apart from that, it's pretty much going to be what it was before, just personal preference of people.
Okay, and like the last question that we like to ask you guys is like, could you please list like top 5 AD carries for the solo queue?
For solo queue?
For solo queue, right.
So in solo queue, I mean, my standard answer is always the champion that you're most comfortable with will give you the best success in solo queue. That's just normal, even if it's by numbers slightly weaker than another champion. Having more experience and more knowledge of the champion and just knowing him in and out will give you more chance to win a game with him than with any other champion. So, but if you're looking for champions to pick up, if you want to like carry games, if you feel you're being ahead of everyone else in your games and you just want to make that count, I would take mobile champions. They can snowball hard. Say anything like Ezreal or Vayne, even Corki, like anything just that can exploit enemies' mistakes when they're out of position, jump them and kill them, or just scales really well, is a good addition. Whereas others that are more supportive, honestly, they work just as well, but they need more support of the team to really function well, say Ashe or Varus or Kog'Maw.
So actually speaking about Corki, we haven't seen him like in ages on the pro scene. Why? What's the reason behind that?
He's been nerfed once with his passive, so the crits didn't work on it anymore, and also he has always had notoriously high mana cost. And other champions were introduced or got back into favor. For example, Varus, who were just way more mana efficient on lane, had way better trading power than Corki, and ultimately could carry that over into being more useful by mid and late game as well. Mid game being where Corki usually shines. And now with the recent buff, that Corki has more missiles to fire and gets more damage out of them. He's actually still not getting played, which is surprising. I think he's somewhat balanced at this point. He's pretty damn playable in my opinion, but yeah, it's just also a process of people adapting to it again. Like, they're just gonna have a natural dislike for a champion that is not very popular. They're gonna be like, well, why is nobody playing this champion? Well, probably is not that good. And then so it kind of snowballs, like the non-popularity of champions kind of snowballs, just like the popularity does when a strong champion or strong build is discovered.
Well, actually, yesterday we saw quite an unusual thing in the Gambit match. Genji built a Muramana on Ashe.
Yeah, I heard about that.
What's the reason?
On Ashe, the reasoning would be the Q obviously can stack your tier very quickly, and for a very small amount of mana cost. So you get a tier stack every time you use your Q. So it stacks really quickly, and also you're gonna have endless mana on lane. The downside of it is that if you invest money on tier and laning phase, you're not gonna have that gold on other really important stats like damage, lifesteal, even, I don't know, tankiness, health or something. So laning is gonna be a little bit harder, but I think in that game he played 2v1, so it didn't really matter at all. And he could just farm up and wait for the point where he had a Muramana completed. And at that point it's very cost efficient because it's only 2.1k gold, but with the active on it, basically the toggle passive, it does a lot of damage. And Ashe doesn't really need her mana for anything else. Like, her spells don't take a lot of mana, so the Muramana active always has a lot of mana to burn from and a lot of damage to deal with. So it definitely it works if you have the time to farm it up, to farm the tier up peacefully.
So there's another question that I have already asked Prepa about. So by patch 3.8, the spawning time of golems will be 155.
Yep.
And will it be still profitable for you guys to take the golems and miss 1 or 2 creeps?
A couple people have tried that out and have found out that you lose on average 2 creeps. Personally, I feel it's probably not going to be worth it because you don't need to push the lane level 1 instantly. Like say you're purple side and you come to lane and you see the enemy is not there.
Okay.
You're not required to push the lane instantly because you know they're gonna come with the XP advantage. You can just let the creeps stay there, like, and zone them actually off the creeps level 1 already. Because they're going to be a little bit chunk coming from golems. They're going to take a little bit of damage, burn a little bit of mana, and in the end, I don't think the XP, like, it's only a very tiny advantage you could ever get. It's going to be worth the lane presence here you give up on for that. So, yeah, I don't the huge golem advantage has definitely been resolved, in my opinion.
Okay, so to end up the interview, would you like to give some shoutouts?
I want to do a shout out to all the fans we've seen at the venue here. It was very, very, I don't know, inviting. Everyone's been very friendly to us, so it was very nice. And they obviously had fun watching the games as well, judging from their cheers. And yeah, want to thank all our fans for following us, for supporting us, and all our sponsors as well.
And actually, you might not know, but from my perspective, Evil Genius is like the second team on the popularity list among Russian players, following up at gaming.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
With all the supposed rivalry that's going on between us, I would have thought like we'd been not as high in popularity in Russia, but
so
apparently I was wrong.
Was caused by the season 2 fraudulent plays at Olivia, and then Russian fans picked up all of your team, and like they're really supportive for you guys.
Nice.
So
that's
thank
great
you.
to hear. You're welcome.